Welcome back everybody, Kathy Arbor here, and today is Paint Along with Me Thursday. And I'll just show you what we did last Tuesday. This was so fun to do. Helps if I put my camera on. There you go. Can you see now? Sorry. There we go. Yeah, so we did this cute little mischievous little elf, and you can put a story to him however you want. I say he's whipping crab apples at you, but he could be harvesting. He could be a good little elf. We'll let you decide what he is. This is on watercolor, and it's watercolor and ink, and you can find that video for last Tuesday. And for anyone watching the recording, I'll put a little card up here for you to click on. So that was fun. So I thought today it's close to Thanksgiving for the United States, and I really pondered what to do. Hey Devin! Yeah, he turned out really cute. So I thought I'm going to do something a little different this time. I'm going to add a person. I don't usually put people in. But this is also a traceable for the members if you want to download it, so you don't have to worry about drawing people. And I thought it was kind of nice because it's memories of when you used to take a walk into the park, and this is fall time, and you just sit there and watch everything that's going on. So I thought I would do this in acrylic. It's not going to be a very difficult one. I'm going to keep it very simple. Unfortunately, I have to take Mom to the dentist, so I can't stay but a while. Okay, that's fine. Life happens. I know. Don't worry about it. Hey, Colleen! So I thought I want to try and use up some of my paper. So I'm going to leave it up to, well, Colleen, what would you like me to do? Since I know you're painting along. This is scrapbook paper. It's Stamperia. I believe it's the one with all the gears and stuff. I don't remember the name of it. I don't have the cover for it. So I could just put it on to here, or do you want me to start fresh? Right? I'm painting on a canvas. Okay, so you want me to do a canvas then? It's just as simple. So I can do it on a where is it? I just had it out. Yeah, I'll just do mine on a file folder then. And then you can follow along. Okay, so we want to put a coat of gesso on. If you're using a canvas, sometimes you see that the canvases are already primed. I myself like to put another coat on the canvas so there's not so much of that texture showing on the canvas. So if you have some gesso, you can put that on, just a thin coat. And for the paper, it's a good idea to put a thin coat because then it stops it from seeping into the paper. So if you make a mistake, it's really hard to get rid of that. But if there's a gesso, you've got time to remove that paint you just put on. So I just have Liquitex. Use whatever you have. You don't have to go out and buy anything special. And if you don't have gesso, you can use just plain white paint. That'll work too. Alright, let's see my gesso brush is, where did I put it? I must have left it. Oh, there it is. Ooh, it's kind of hard. Needs a good cleaning. This is my gesso slash glue brush. It's like 12 years old. So this one is going to be fairly easy. It's going to be a lot of bristle, not real accurate brush strokes, more or less. Trees are so easy to do with a brush or with a sponge. So that's what we'll be using most of the time. The only time we're going to be using like a flat or something or a round is if we want to get the rails on the bench proper. So if you're doing yours on a piece of scrapbook paper, what I look for is the basic color that's in most of the picture. So because it's fall, I would have picked something with a lot of oranges, greens, browns, that type of thing. You don't have to worry about sky color. We can always paint that in. So there's my gesso. So just one coat is good enough. And I'll dry that. Just make sure it's really good and dry. I hope you're all having a great week so far. We're supposed to get a pile of snow. We have snow squall watch actually for today, believe it or not. So they're calling for about 15 centimeters. It's really, really windy. It's cold here. So for the December coming up, leave in the comments below, what do you want? Are you tired of seeing Christmas stuff already? Or what kind of thing would you like to see? More just winter? Or do you want to see Christmas trees and Christmassy type of stuff? Well, that's fine, as long as it's just gesso. Doesn't matter if it's clear, it's just a matter of getting rid of that tooth. It's cool there too? Yeah, it's all over. It's very strange weather. You like Christmas? Okay. I have a really cute one of a Santa's helper that I'd made up. Checking the list. So my reference comes from, if you want really good references, you do have to go through a lot of photos, but if you got time to go through them. January, okay, yeah. I use Unsplash, so it's royalty free. You can use this is the photo, but I'm adding to it. So I looked at this photo more or less for the bench and the couple. So I actually shortened the bench, so it didn't make it so long. And instead of being on an angle, I made it kind of not as curved. And then I put some pigeons in a tree. I'll probably do the background like they do here. I don't know about water. Could be just green grass because of it's in a park, so it doesn't have to be water. And then we'll make the trees in the background here different colors. So very simple, and we'll have trees falling on the ground too in the air. So now I want you to take your printable, and if you have some tracing paper, like the carbon paper, this is actually the, what do you call it? Where did I put it? Saran? Okay, where did I put it? Oh boy. Oh, I remember now. So what I get is the white and it's a gray, more of a carbon color. And this paper is great because you can erase it and it doesn't leave a wax mark on your paper, because a lot of times the other stuff has wax in it and it kind of stops your paint from going over top of those lines. So this comes in 12 feet, so they last forever. And I just stick with, like, you can get it in graphite, white, blue, yellow, and red. I just stick with the graphite and the white because those are the most used colors. I don't think I would use yellow. The white would be just as good. And you just take off a piece, and you can use them over and over and over again. So it's not just a one-time thing. You can use it as many, probably about, I don't know, 20 times per sheet. And this way you can rip. You use that, Lisa? Yeah. You can rip a size you want. So if you're using a bigger canvas, it's easier to have a bigger piece. And I've been having troubles with, I tried, I think it was a carbon paper, and it wasn't going on my paint for some reason. So I don't know whether it was too old or what. Just make sure you put it down the right way. Ask me how I know. I've done that many times. Ugh. And this is great transfer paper for watercolor, if you want to use it on watercolor. Yeah, it's worth it, Colleen, if you're going to be, if you use a lot of it, it is really worth it. I've had mine for years, and I've hardly had to, the roll's still thick. So it's worth the money. It is a little expensive, but it's worth the money, I find. Less frustration. So now I want to get a pen, and I'm going to trace out, let's see, that should work. And I'm going to trace out my people, and probably the tree. Now I'm not going to bother with putting the branches in, or the grass, or even the little birds. We can put those in later. They're not something that has to be traced. So just put your people in the bench where the tree line is, and this big trunk of the tree. It's pretty well all you'll need. The tree line can be any shape you want. By the time we're done, it'll change again. This is just for reference to show where it was. So once we get using our sponges and that type of thing, it'll all change again. And the tree I'm going to be putting in is a birch. If you want a maple or something else, you can put that in. I just like the look of birch trees. Okay, and then I'll just draw her in. And you just kind of see the side of her ear there. And I'll just put some of those lines in just to show how her hair is falling. And his ear's right there. Do you want me to bring you in? I'll bring you in a little bit. There's his other ear. And he's got a bald spot. You don't have to put a bald spot on yours, but I thought it was a nice old couple. You can make it however you want. It could be two people, younger, could be two women, two men, however you want to do it. Just have to change up a little bit for different genders, that's all, or ages. So is everybody ready for your Thanksgiving? Do you still have a big Thanksgiving? I know the States is very big on Thanksgiving. Here in Canada, not so much. I know in the United States always had those big parades, and we've never had parades for Thanksgiving here in Canada. It's kind of a quiet. Hey, Brenda. We're just doing a nice park scene with an older couple sitting together on the park bench feeding the pigeons. Just a cute little scene. It's going to be fall, so we'll put some nice leaves in and okay, she's done, and I'll just put the bench in. If you want to do straight lines, you can. Get your ruler out and put them in. If it changes it up a little bit, that's fine. I just thought this would be an easier one for everyone to do because their backs are turned, so you don't have to worry about doing faces and stuff. So it's a fairly simple one. Oh, I went past that, that's okay. Alright, I think that's it for now. So before I take the tape off, I'll just take a peek and see if it's, yep, it's good. So there's our beginning. And you can erase this stuff if you get any marks from your hand or fingers. It just erases. So that's the nice thing about this stuff. And you can also just take a baby wipe too, and it'll come off. But I don't worry too much about it because it's going to be painted anyways. All right. So we're going to be needing color-wise. I'll be using, Colleen, do you have craft paint or do you have just artist grade? And who else would like either craft paint or artist grade to be done in this? Just let me know, because I've got both, so if you'd rather me do it in the artist grade, I can do that too. You have both? Okay. Alright, so we're going to start off with some different colors of blue, green, a little bit of, even if you have a nice dark brown in the artist or craft paint. So I have, this is a avocado, so it's kind of a medium color of olive. And then I have a light buff, or if you just have the buff, is good. And I have a, what they call winter blue, so it's more, it's a little bit on the gray side. It's a blue, so if you have a cerulean blue, medium blue, that type of thing, you can add a little bit, just a touch of orange to it, and it'll gray it down. And then I want an umber. So a nice dark brown. Shake them up. I think this is still wet. Yep. Green. I'll put the green right here. And so first we're going to do the landscape, the background. So where'd that blue go? I didn't put any of that out. So we're going to start off with the sky first. Now you can either do this with a sea sponge, if you have one. If you don't have a sea sponge, you can use a brush like this. So see how it's very wide. It's a bristle brush, so it's thick, but it's not chiseled. The edge isn't chiseled, it's splayed apart. Let's see where I put my don't know where I put my, oh, there it is. Now your sea sponge looks like this. Okay. So just get it wet, you don't, and wring it out. You don't want it stiff. And then with that grayish color, you can dip your sea sponge in it and dab off the side. You don't want it totally full of paint. And then you just, on the bottom part, along the edge of those tree line, just go across it. We want that area to be a little darker. And then just a few spots up here. Like that. Then don't clean your sea sponge. Just dip it in either white or the buff color. Do the same thing, dab off the side. Or you can dab it into a paper towel. And then just go over top. And go into this bottom part too. And just keep dabbing. Don't rub. Just keep dabbing. Okay. And you can take a little bit more of that buff or white, whatever you're using. Do a little more. If you find you're getting a pattern, just turn your sponge a little bit to get a different shape. Now I want it a little bit lighter on the top. So I'm adding a little bit more of that buff color. And then in the center, beside that tree, add a little more so it's more concentrated there. And then dry it. Just make sure it's nice and dry. Okay? Are you still drying? You can clean off your sea sponge and just squeeze it in a paper towel to get most of the dampness out of it when you're done. You're still drying? Okay. Alrighty. Now, for the background, the leaves are going to be turning, so we're going to put a little bit of green. Actually, I should take out some yellow and a little bit of red. So I have some yellow, oh, I don't want pearls. So a cadmium yellow, doesn't matter if it's cadmium yellow, deep, medium, or light. Anything, or straw color would work too. A little bit of a nice red. This is true red, or cadmium red, or any red actually will do, because we're going to mix them. Hey Julie, good to see you. Now this, we're going to start off with this medium avocado color. So I just dipped a little bit, see, not much on my, just a bit, and I'm tapping off just to get some of that off. You can use a paper towel if you want. See how much you got. And now I'm going to do along the bottom part, see the bottom of this line here? But I'm not going to have it so thick that you can't see the line. I just want a bit of that color in some of the trees. And you can put a few up here too, into the sky. And then don't wet your brush or your sponge. Now you can take your sponge and dip it into that yellow. And you can do the same thing, tap off. And then on the top part, put some of that yellow. You don't have to put it all the way across either. Sometimes the trees are different. Sometimes you'll see just patches of yellow here and there, not a whole lot. It's up to you. And then we want to do the same. The yellow's on there, dip into your red. Tap off. And then just do a few areas of the red. You can add a little bit of yellow to that to change the color up to orange. Just put in what you think will work. You could also check out some reference photos of fall tree lines. Okay. So I just have a bit. You can also use a brush to do this too, the same way. Just dip the very end of the brush, tap down, and do the same thing. You can go back and add, if you find you got too much of one color in one area, just go back with another color. There's no real wrong way of doing fall trees this way. You can make them however you want. Okay, and then dry that up. Okay, next I'm going to be doing just a little bit of, I think I'll put the water in. So if you can see, I have greens, and that's because you're seeing the reflection of the trees in the water here. But notice there's a really dark edge, and this is the underneath of the trees, so it would be dark, full of shadow. So we can take that green and yellow that we were using, mix a medium color green, and just with a, if you have a, this is a flat, you can use a round, whatever you got. I just want a line here showing the edge of that water. And then you can take your sponge again and do a little bit more sponging. You have to be a little more, scrunch it up so it's not as wide. And look at your colors. You seeing any colors that is above? You'll see them in the water. So you want to put a little bit of that. No, actually, stop. I should put the water in first. Where's my, okay, I just had it. In here? Nope. Oh, for Pete's sakes. How can I lose a paintbrush? Oh my goodness. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, water is reflective. So it's going to reflect the trees, but it's also going to reflect the sky. So what you want to do is take that sky color and just go across, go into that green, and just, this is a very, very watered down paint. And just paint that blue into the sky. I think I will go around his ear here and his face, just so that it's a little easier for you guys. We don't want too much going on in between them, so we'll just do that water to the head. Just to make it a little easier. Okay. Okay, now we can take your sponge wherever you see the yellow, and it's usually the top part. So whatever you're seeing on the top part of those is what's going to be showing in the water. When you put that in, it's not normally very defined. So you take your, while it's wet, take your brush and just go over that wet paint and scrape it sideways, just to move it, like that. You can do the same with the green too. Just take your sponge, the green, or whatever's on the top part of those. It's got a little bit more yellow, I would say, so I'm going to put more yellow up here. So maybe there's a tad there, maybe some here and there. And do the same thing. Wet brush, lightly, don't press too hard, just lightly. How's everybody doing? Now we're going to put a little bit of shadow under those trees. And I'm going to take some of that dark brown that you have out, so whatever raw umber or whatever you've got. And I've got a flat here. And I'm going to dab in those white areas. With my brush. So I don't want an uneven line. I just want dabs on the bottom part of this. So it looks like shadow. Don't go too far up. If you find you got too much on, you can always go back. This is the nice thing about acrylics, is you can always go back with one of the colors from the bush or trees and go on top of that dark section. So don't worry about getting too much on. You can always go back. Dorothy, good to see you. So I'm just using a little bit of this yellow and green again. If I see any areas that it's got too much white in it, I'm just going to dab in some of this. You can do the same for along the edge also. Along the edge will be a little bit more of a straight line because that's the edge of the water. Okay, and then we dry it. We'll come back to it. All right, so now we're going to do the grass around him. So the grass is only going to go to a certain length towards them. And just got some of that green and a little bit of yellow mixed in with it. It's kind of watery. And I'm just gonna put in the edge of that waterway. And you can change the color up if you want. It doesn't have to be, don't worry about brush marks either. It doesn't have to be full of nice smooth marks, because we're going to do more on top of this to give the grass effect. Make lighter areas, darker areas by adding a little bit of green here and there. And I'm going to take it down to about there where the seat of the bench is. So you want to take a fine brush, if you got it, to go in between the rails of the bench. And paint around their body. Like so. Oh, I die. Yeah, you have 2 accounts, eh? There's a traceable for this dot if you want to give it a try. So underneath them, it's going to kind of be a bit on the dirt side with a little bit of grass, because it's worn from people sitting on there, basically. So you want to make up a little bit of kind of a grayish, brownish black color. So a little bit of your brown, whatever brown color you have. And you can add a little bit of red to that too, just to make it a little bit more on the reddish side. And if I, let's see if I put some of this color do I get. If you put blue with that, you should get kind of a grayish brown color. Kind of want a muddy color. And you can just paint underneath their feet and the bench with that. And if it's kind of blotchy looking, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go over top of that, some of that green that I put on. Get my smaller brush, go around the and just paint around the feet. And there's no between the rails on the seat of the bench, you won't see this because it's the way the what do you call it? Can't think today. The way it's positioned, you wouldn't see any spacing. If you go over any of the shoes or rails, don't worry about it. You can always put them back in. They will be dark, so don't worry if you're going over lines or anything. So basically this part is just about base coating. That's my tree there. Okay. And I'm just going to base coat to the bottom of this. If you want to add a little bit more brown to it, you can, or more a little green. It doesn't have to be all the same color. You'll have different colors as far as shading in the parts of the soil. It's not always exactly the same. We'll add some dots and specks in it too, just to give it a more textured look. On the very bottom, I'm going to add a little bit more of a darker to it though. Just to show, oop, I got some white in that. Just have fun with it. Under the bench will be a little bit darker too, or just below their feet, more or less, because of the bench and their body casting a shadow. So you can add just a smidgen of, I'm just putting brown in. Doesn't have to be anything special. Just go I like going vertically, just with different colors, because that kind of gives you the impression of the ground, which way it's going. And I've gone right over the legs because I can still see through this, because it's fairly transparent what I'm using. Because we're going to paint that anyways, so there's no point in, you know, carefully going around things. You know we're going to have to paint that in anyways. Thanks, Dot. Yeah, I thought it would be kind of a nice fall, Thanksgiving kind of memories. All right, now I'm going to dry that. Okay. Now we're going to take a bristle brush. Probably if you've got something a little smaller, let's see, like this. See how it's kind of splayed? I don't know if you can see that good enough. It's not really fine. We want messiness. This is going to be making our grass. Now the grass furthest away, you're not going to see it as being really individual. It's going to be more or less blobs. But grass, if you ever notice, can be in patches of color. Some greener areas than others. So what you can do is just take your, I've only got it on the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to take it and go up and down in areas. And I'm going to switch to a little bit of yellow in it. And put some yellow streaking in it too. So change it up. Also, the sun will shine on it too and change up the look of it. So it's a layered effect you're doing. Hey, Kim. And then when you get close to these areas of where the brown paint is, just do a few light taps, leaving some of that brown through. Change up the color. Even add some brown to that. Darken it up. So I just keep going back from different colors. Back to the yellow. Maybe some there. Light, and just a light touch will give you just a slight wisp. Don't put too much on your brush though. See, I had too much on that, made those blobs. But I can go back over them again. Some of the grass might be starting to wear. Might have some of the grass coming up in the dirt here and there. Just put little tufts. So I've got my paintbrush vertical up and down, and I'm putting it down and flicking it up to make the tufts. Just put a few in. Okay, so while that's drying, we can paint in our tree here, our trunk of the tree, and I'm going to be doing a birch. So the white barked ones with the black in them. So what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of, I'm going to use not white, I'm going to use this buff, this light buff. I'm going to paint the whole thing. Might have to do it a couple times because I've painted over parts of it, but that's fine. Put a good coat on it. So we'll dry that and then put another coat. Put another coat on. So I want a fairly opaque so I don't see any of those other colors through it. Pretty good. Still see a bit of that, but that could work for my advantage of having those. They have specks on them and black areas. So let's dry that. Okay, because trunks are round, you want to show that by adding a little bit of shadow. And just the slightest bit of shadow will make it work. So I'm going to darken this one little bit of buff here with a little bit of that blue color. So just a smidge of blue. Doesn't have to be a lot. And then I'm just going to go down one side of it. So I've cleaned my brush. Don't want too much water. And just with one side, I'm going to put paint. And that side is going to go on the edge of the tree. And I'm just going to bring it down. Hopefully it's, no, it's not dark enough to make it darker. Let's see. Put it, that's better. So I put a little bit more blue in there. Sometimes you have to test it. and then going down the other side too. I'm going to take a little bit of that white, just run it down the center, like so. And it just gives it a little bit of shadow look to the tree, just a smidge. I don't know if it'll show. Let me dry it. Acrylic usually dries a little darker. Alright, now if you have a credit card, should have one somewhere in here. How do I use this? Well, I suppose I could use this too. It's a palette knife. You want a nice long edge. I'm going to take some of that brown, or actually black. Let's see. I have black here. What I want to do is put some on the edge of my knife. And then what you do is you don't have like globs on it though. You very lightly go on the edge of your tree and then take it and swipe it. On both sides. Just mark it up. Some of them have more marks than others. And then you could take a fine round. This is number 4. And usually the branches that come out of the birch tree are usually a dark color. So we'll put a branch in here. And there's usually a black mark under the branch. So it's kind of got a lot of markings on it when they have that on their branches. So you can put as many as you want. We might put one. Sometimes you'll see branches also coming from the bottom. They have suckers a lot. I'm going to make some more. Usually a lot darker on the bottom too. And more marks on the bottom because it's the oldest part of the tree. Now I'm going to have a bunch of branches kind of falling down out of the top part here. And I'm just going to use you can use a marker if you want, paint, whatever. So it's going to be like, I just take make it stop and then go and then stop. It gives you a more realistic look. You can do as many as you want. You can crisscross them, all kinds of stuff. Don't forget to overlap some of them too. And we'll put some leaves on them. I'm not going to put any more in here yet until I finish these people. So let's do that first. So you can make their coats any color you want. In the picture, this was from Unsplash. She's just got a navy coat, looks like khaki colored pants. He's got a cream colored. So you can, whatever color you want to do it. You can match it to the background if you want. You can make it totally different so it stands out. It's up to you. I think I'm going to do it in blue. I'm going to do her in blue. So I'm going to give her, let's see, got some blue left over here. I'm going to lighten it a little bit. So I'm just going to base coat her coat in with this blue. in between the rungs. Let's see, shoulders here. And that's his hand. There's her coat. Excuse me. Maybe we'll do his coat. Keep it in kind of a brownish cream color. He has a shirt on, but I'm just going to use the coat over top of it instead. You put a shirt, like the collar, up on off the coat if you want. And in between the rails, so is anybody having a big do for their Thanksgiving? I don't know if I asked that yet. But okay, there's his coat. And I think I'm going to give him blue jean pants. So that blue I used for the coat, I'm just going to add a little bit of black to it to darken it. Here we go. And I think I'm going to give her khaki color, I guess. So a little bit of you can make yours whatever color you want. The same technique will apply, doesn't matter what color. So we'll be putting shadows in highlights maybe, depending. There's her leg. And we'll have dark brown shoes, I guess, on him. Let's see. Not paint that in right. Too much water on my brush. This one, his heel is up, raised. So you're seeing the bottom of his shoe. So we'll put some black on the bottom of his shoe. There. And put a heel on his shoe here. That. And she's got kind of cream color, it looks like, but yeah, I guess we can do cream. So light brown maybe. No, that won't work. But I have something that's going to show with the we'll do her cream colored shoes. So we gotta have it showing on the dark part here. So if we did a dark color, it wouldn't show really well. And she also has her foot or heel raised. So we'll do that. Her foot's down like this. And then we see a dark sole. We'll just add some brown to the bottom here. And I guess it should be darker, black. Like that. We can fix it up. A little bit of a heel on her other foot. Just a smidge. You can use Poscas to do this. This is kind of fine. And then their socks. Well, you can make their skin tone, so kind of use some red. Let's see, where am I going to put this? red, a little bit of yellow. Kind of want a peachy color. And some buff. It should give you a fairly nice, maybe a little bit of blue. There. So I'm just gonna do his ears, his neck, and his bald spot on his head, and her ear. Actually, just see the bit of the side of her face, and not much of her neck. That's his hand here. So see that. And then the top parts just above their, you can see the skin above their socks. I'm going to put the whole thing in skin tone and then put the socks on. It's a little easier. Okay. And then her hair is kind of a auburn color. So we'll add a little bit of brown. And mix a little red to that. A little bit of just basing it in. And again, you can do this with Poscas if you got a color that you like for hair. Doesn't have to be this color. It can be whatever color you want. And you could do totally different hairstyle if you wanted to. Totally up to you. I'm just putting a little bit darker on the back part. I'm going to put his hand in a little more. Didn't come out quite as dark as I wanted. I think that'll be good. And then you can just take a little bit of, maybe a little bit yellow added to that. I want it a little bit lighter. And we just do some streaking just to show which way the hair is going. So you'd see it more on the top of the head. You can put a few in the bottom, but not a whole lot. And I'm just lightly touching it. And then a little bit of, not too much. bit more. Some black. And he's got gray hair, so I could put just a cream color more on the white side. And then just a little bit of, it's more on a yellowy, kind of a dirty color on the back for shadows. No. That, maybe a little bit of gray. And then highlight with a little bit of white on the top. His head. You can use Posca too, because this is very small. There we go. Okay, so now let's do some socks on them. So we could just, I don't know, looks like she's got stockings on, but we could put cream colored, I guess, on them. She's got these ankle socks on. Kind of matches her shoes, but we could always put a little bit of a shadow in. And I think he's got cream colored too. Like that. Alright, so let's do the bench. The bench is almost black, but I don't want it to be completely black. So I think I'm going to use this umber color. And let's see how it looks. So you have to use a fine brush, or you can use Poscas too. Just keep going across. And if you have any kind of streaking, leave it, because that will give it an effect of wood. And if there's difference in hue, that's fine too, because not all wood is the same. and different woods are different colors too. So, or you could have it painted if you want. Some park benches are painted, so you could always do that too. It doesn't have to be brown. It could be a red one. It could be yellow. It could be whatever you want. Maybe your parks have different colors. Green ones. I've seen a lot of those. I've seen red, yellow, green. And do the these are probably, they could be wood, but sometimes most of the time I see them, and they're some kind of a metal wrought iron, just for strength, I guess. So let's do those a little more on the black side. There we go. And back to the brown for the seat. And the seat will be a little bit lighter because the sun is shining on it. So this back piece here, which is showing the thickness of the seat, will be the same color as the rest of it. And then we'll do a little bit lighter on the top part. And these will be darker. Little legs. This one thicker, I think. There. I think that needs to be longer. There. Alright, and then the top part is lighter because you're seeing the sunshine on it. So it's going to be almost a soft tan color, actually. I guess that won't be. I'll have to darken this area under her coat because that would be darker because of the shadow. And we'll put the lines in still, but I'll use a Posca to do that. That. So under her coat there would be darker. So let's put this in. Okay, while that's drying, I'm going to put some leaves in. So when we do leaves, you can just take a flat and load it up with whatever color. Maybe I'll make some orange here. Maybe a yellowy orange. And you want a fair amount of paint on your brush when you do this. So, and I'm going to use the side of my brush. So you just dab, because they're closer to you. So you want we're only going to put a few on the tree here. So you're going to see them more individual than you did back here. Now we can add a little bit of brown to that and start making ones that are falling. You might have to add a little bit of white to your mix just to make it more opaque. So you'll see ones falling down here and there. And then just do a bunch of taps down here. This is closest to you, so you'll see them. They'll be more, it'll be bigger. You can add a little bit of different colors if you want. Just make them different sizes. More in there, maybe. You can add more stems if you want. And then you can also take a bigger brush. These are closest to you, so the ones, say the ground is filled with different types of leaves. So you want to take a little bit of color here. And then just dab. So you might have a few areas that are more condensed with fallen leaves from the tree. And you can go back and put more of those other ones in too. It's totally up to you how many you have in. Make them a little lighter if you want, so you notice them more. Okay. Now let's put those little where is it? I made some little guys. Okay, they can be whatever you, pigeons, whatever you want. I'm going to make mine pigeons. So I'm going to want probably a grayish white color. And they're just strokes. So a thin head, small head, with a small neck, and then a fat body. And have them eating. You can have as many as you want on there. And pigeons can have little rings around their, usually sometimes you see them, marks on their wings or their neck sometimes. You put a little mark on them. Might be easier to do it with a Posca. It's up to you. And then you put little legs on them. I'm going to use a marker. Let's see. So, wait till it's dry, and I can put eyeballs if you want. You don't have to though. Alright, then let's get a Posca. Where did I put them? Oh, there they are. Let's do a little bit more to the tree. So I want some smaller marks, twigs, that type of thing. Just add a little bit more. Right here. Sometimes they have speckles on them. Not all the time, but sometimes. Let's see. Yeah, I want a fairly small, let's see, I can use this. I want to put the lines in here. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3. That. And now we need to do a little bit of shadows on their clothes. So I'm just going to take this brush. Let's see, where's that reference? Okay, so here's the reference. And just take a little bit of the black with some of that gray, I guess. Watered down. And we got some wrinkles in his coat. And shadows. Right in here. Back of his neck here. Right in here. The leaves there. Some here. It's actually fairly dark, so I'm going to darken this area. I'm not going to get too crazy with the folds and stuff. Let's see. I think it was this color here I used for his coat. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So if I put a little bit of, darken that just a smidge, make it fairly watery. No, that needs to be darker. Just a little bit darker in certain areas. And her coat just a smidge. So that blue that I had her coat in, I just used the normal blue, which would be a little bit darker. And collar here, just a smidge. And in here, be darker. Right in here. Very dark in the bottom part, in between the things too, will be darker. There, and beside him, be darker. Alright, and then her pants, same thing, a little bit darker on the backs of their legs, so I did that green with her, so I'm just going to use that plain green avocado, and we'll just add a little bit of shadowing there. And just put a little bit of highlight on the front of those pants. So that was like that. Should do. And a little highlight on his bald spot. And I think okay, so there's just a smidge of a highlight on the rails. It depends on how much you guys want to go crazy with this. I could go on forever myself, but okay, I'm going to put a little bit of bush along the line here of this embankment. And I'm just going to more or less do it in the yellows. Bit of green here and there. There is some trees or bushes. Just to split up that water edge a little bit. Then I can take that liner again, or Posca. I guess I could, well, I'll have to dry it first. Put some little tree limbs in there. Posca. I could go brown, actually. If I can find the brown. Oh, there's brown. Okay. It's not a real heavy brown, but just add a little twig here and there in the just gives it a little more detail. You don't have to do a lot. Maybe some in here. I have trees showing. Could actually do white too, as other birch trees. They would be white. I'll have to put a lot in, but all right. And I'm going to put, I think it's, let's see if this color will work. Nope, wrong color. Want a shadow. On the bottom, top of these. On the bottom of this. That. Just there. And then just a few sprigs of paint, of grass and stuff. And then we're done. I guess I'm going to have to use a paintbrush. Don't think these are the right color. So, some of this green again, yellow, water, and some longer ones. Be by the trees. Just adds a little bit of variety to the mix. Weeds or whatever you want to call them. And I always like to add a little bit of different colors with it too on top, like just gives it a little bit more interest. Maybe darker. Yeah. I think that's done. I think. Oh, no. One thing. The water. There's always something, isn't there? Scruffy brush. Dry it off. Put some white paint on my tips. And then just do a little bit of dragging. Just to give that impression of water. And that's it. There is our painting for today. And I could go do highlights on the branches too, of course. All depends on how much you want to do as far as detail. I love detail, so I could go on and on and on and on. It's up to you what you want to do. You want to be there? Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a nice memory, what we can have if everyone behaves themselves and everything works out. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you'll give it a try. I am miles behind, but enjoying this. Oh, awesome. Well, if you have any questions, you can message me, Colleen, I'm here. But take your time. Don't rush. Take your time. It's fun, and I like doing ones like this. I haven't done it people for a while. So if you liked this type of thing, let me know in comments, and we'll see what we can do. So I'll let you guys go, and you have a fantastic weekend. And I think it's next Thursday is it Thursday that is your Thanksgiving in the United States? Or is it the weekend? So I'll let you guys go and have a fantastic weekend then. Bye for now.